These AI ASMR videos have been going crazy viral. This video by itself got 3.4 million likes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an AI agent and automation that makes these videos completely on autopilot so you don't have to do anything. To create this workflow, you do not need to know how to code at all because we'll be using a low-code platform called N8N. Also, we'll be using Veo 3 Fast, so you'll be able to generate these videos extremely cheaply. Let's look at a video that this AI agent and automation made. I don't know about y'all, but that was pretty satisfying for me. We're going to walk through how to build this AI agent and automation step by step, and all the resources you need to build it are in my free community link down below. Once you're at that community, all you need to do is hit join group and it's completely free. Once you're in the community, just head over to Classroom. Here you'll find YouTube tutorials, and then you'll find the how to create AI ASMR videos here. Now, I spent hours building this workflow, and if you just want the workflow for yourself, all you need to do is scroll down to the very bottom here, click this JSON file, download it, and then once you have it downloaded, just head over to your N8N and you can either copy and paste the JSON into the workflow, or you can just import from file just like this. And voila, you have the entire workflow for yourself. But if you want to learn how to build this step by step, let's start. Now we're ready to start building the community. So from the resources section of my community, all you'll need to do is head over to N8N by clicking on this link here. If you have not used N8N before, it is an AI automation tool where you can build AI agent workflows. Once you are here, hit sign in. And if you don't have an account, you'll need to make an account. Once you are finished signing in and making an account, your screen will look just like this. And from here, all you need to do is hit create workflow. Now, this is where the fun part begins. The first step will be to add what is called a trigger. For today's purposes, we are just going to click on trigger manually. So to do that, all I did was in the top right-hand corner here, searched for trigger manually, and all you need to do is click it. Once you click it, it'll populate into your workflow. Now, this is basically the process for starting the workflow, which will make sense once we actually have some things that are actually incorporated here. The next step will be for us to build an AI agent. And if you haven't done this before, I'm going to walk you through it step by step because it's really cool. Step number one is to search for the AI agent node. Once I have the node, I'm just going to click on it here, and this screen is going to populate. Now, to actually make this node function, we need to take a few steps. You can go ahead and click on the trash icon here. We don't need this node. And so your workflow should look just like this. Now, to actually make this node function, there's a few things we're going to run through. The first step is we will change this option here to define below, and we are just going to write generate 3 scenes. Now, keep in mind that I'm going to explain exactly what we're doing and what this AI agent does after we have completed setting it up, because it won't make sense to you if I explain it now. Trust me. Now, the next step is for you to toggle this on, require specific output format. And let me show you what this is for and what it does. So when it's toggled off, you will see only 3 options below the agent: chat model, memory, and tool. When you toggle it on, then you will see a 4th one, which is output parser. And I'm going to explain that to you once we get to that point. But for now, all you need to do is make sure this is toggled on. Once that is toggled on, the final step that you'll need to take in this section is to click on add option, and we're going to click on system message. Now, for this system message, I have developed an extremely detailed and long prompt. So what you'll need to do is if you head on over to the resources section, then you will see in node 1, which is the node that we're working in, a system prompt, and you just have to copy and paste it over. So let me do that with you. Okay, I have that system prompt copied, and I'm just going to paste it in here. Oh, I made a mistake. Before you paste in the system message, click on expression, and then now you'll be able to do that message. Perfect. So just to review, you have set the section to define below. You have written generate 3 scenes. You have toggled require specific output format on, and you have copy and pasted the system message. Now we can move on to setting up the rest of this AI agent. Next, we are going to need to actually connect this AI agent to a model. So if you think about all the models that exist right now, we have ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, there's so many. So let's do that together. Once I hit that plus icon, I'm going to search for what's called OpenRouter. And if you haven't used OpenRouter before, it's basically a one-stop shop where you can have access to all of the different models. Now, since you haven't set up the OpenRouter API key yet, let's do that together. To do that, the first step will be to head on over back to the documentation and then head to openrouter.ai. Now, once you are on openrouter.ai, this is what your home screen should look like. And you'll probably need to make an account, which you can do in the top right-hand corner. Once you have made an account, then you can go ahead and hit Get API Key. And once you hit Get API Key, then you're going to hit Create API Key. And I'm just going to say NAN demo. And I'm going to have this expire in 1 day. By the way, just a quick tip. If you're working with APIs, you never want to share them. So make sure they always stay private. And for the one that I'm going to be using for this video with y'all, I'm just going to make sure it expires in 1 day. Now, I'm going to hit create. So now I have my new key. I need to hit copy. And then I'm going to head back over to NAN. And I'm going to hit this drop down, go to create new credential. And then I'm going to copy and paste that API key and hit save. So now we are connected to the OpenRouter API. And let me show you what we have access to now that we are connected. We have access to use all of these different models. I mean, look at them. There's like dozens, if not maybe 100. So for this demonstration, let's use OpenAI ChatGPT 5. And after you set that up, this should be good to go. Oh, also on OpenRouter, you will need to add in your credit card information, but don't worry, the API calls are very cheap. So it'll be like less than $1. For example, so far, this is how much usage I've done for this API key for another demo I was doing. And then here is how much I've done for another demo. So extremely affordable. Great. So after you set up the AI agent to connect to OpenRouter, the next step will be to hit this memory box. Oh, sorry, not the memory box, is to hit this toolbox and then search for Think. And when you hit Think Tool, it's going to have this description here, and we can go ahead and leave this as is. So that one's easy. Now we have set up the chat agent, or sorry, we've set up the chat model to connect to the agent. We've set up this Think tool. And by the way, this Think tool is just helping the agent think through the prompts that you give it more thoroughly so you get a better output. Now, last but not least, we need to click on Output Parser. So if you remember, here we toggled on Require Specific Output Format. And once we toggle that on, this unlocked this section here. So I'm going to hit the plus icon and hit Structured Output Parser. Now, when you hit Structured Output Parser, this is the screen that you should see. You can go ahead and delete all of the code that you see in here. And I've made it easier for you because in the resources section, all you need to do is look for a structured output parser and then copy and paste that over. So let's do that together. Now, after you've copy and pasted that over, this is what this part should look like. Now that we've finished setting up this AI agent, you're probably asking, okay, Timothy, I moved my mouse, I clicked some buttons. So what does this node or AI agent actually do? Well, let's look through that together. To do that, all you need to do is hit this plus icon here, or you can hit execute workflow. This is so that the agent can actually run and then we can see what it generates. Let's do that together. This usually takes 30 seconds or a minute, so I'm just going to let it run and revisit with you once it is finished. Okay, the AI agent has finished running, so let's look at it together. All you need to do is double click into here, and now on this right side, we see an entirely new field that didn't exist before, and this is the output of this agent. So the reason that this didn't exist before is because we didn't even run the agent yet. Let's explain what this AI agent is actually doing. If we take a step back, how is it possible that we can run this AI agent 1,000 different times, and each time it's actually going to generate a completely different ASMR video? Think about that. I could run it 1,000,000 times, and even 1,000,000 times, it would be different for every video. So to do that, let's open up the system message that you copy and pasted earlier. This system message is basically taking different parts that exist in an ASMR video and randomizing them and putting them together. So if you think about what instrument someone is cutting with, if you think about what color is in the video, if you think about the material used, the object, the surface, all of those are important aspects that make up an ASMR video. So what this prompt is doing is it's taking all of these ingredients and randomizing the values for each of those ingredients. Now, if we think about the values that are being used, we have some examples. So for example, for the instruments, we have hot knife, wire cutter, precision scalpel. For colors, neon pink, silver, midnight purple. Materials, kinetic sand, soap bar, wax blocks, wax block. We have different objects being cut: rubber duck, avocado, watermelon. Surfaces, we have a bamboo mat, we have a concrete block. We have so many different variations that can be used to create unique ASMR videos. So at the beginning of the video, when I said that this AI agent automatically creates these, this is how it does it. This is the first step. Now that you understand what this prompt or system message is doing, let's look at the actual output. Here, we asked it to generate 3 scenes. So here are our 3 scenes. We have scene 1. Here we have emerald green, frozen honey. Second one is we're using a hot knife. Third one, we're using a diamond wire saw. And so if you notice, all of these 3 scenes are completely different. And the reason we're able to do that is because of how we crafted the system message. So that is what this AI agent is doing. Now that we have these 3 scenes, we need to move on to the next step of this workflow. But before I do that, I'm just going to rename this to Ingredients AI Agent. Perfect. Now, if we head back to Canvas, I'm going to hit this plus icon, and I am going to add what is called a code node. For a code node, you'll see this first one here. Once you click it, you can just hit code in JavaScript, and this screen should open. Now, once we have this screen, this JavaScript might be intimidating, but don't worry, because all you need to do is delete what is in here and head back over to the resources section. And I have pasted the code that you need right here. So I'm just going to copy that. And then I'm going to move back on over to the workflow, and voila, we have completed this node. Now, you're probably asking, okay, Timothy, this is cool, but what does this node even do? Let me explain once we run it. To run it, all you need to do is hit execute step. Now, that has finished running, and let's take a look at the output together. If we see here, it looks like it separated all three of the scenes. So why did we need to separate them? Let's walk through that together. Our first step was just to manually trigger the workflow. Okay, awesome. The second step is for the ingredient AI agent to develop the different parts that will make up each scene. But the thing is, when it does that, it aggregates all of those scenes together. So if you notice here, this says one item. So that means all of the details for the scenes are put together. But if we go back to Canvas, what we're trying to do here is separate one item to three items, and each item is one of the scenes. And that's exactly what we did here, if you look at 3 items. Now, the reason we need to do this is because it's relevant for the next step. Now that we have all of the scenes broken out, we can actually feed that into a new AI agent that processes each one individually. And it would not be able to process each one individually if we did not break them out. If that doesn't make sense, you'll see what I mean when we build the next node, and then we can walk through the entire workflow together. Before I move on, I'm just going to do 2 things. The first one, I'm going to rename this so we know what it's doing. Unbundle ingredients. And the second thing, which is important, is to hover over this and hit pin, and then you can just do the same thing for this one. Now, the reason that we are pinning these nodes is because we don't want to have these nodes constantly run every time we test the workflow. If you think about it, do you want this ingredients AI agent to run every time you want to test what you're building? No. You just want it to run once, and then you want to build the next part of your workflow, confirm that next part works, and then so on and so forth. Now, for the next step, we are going to add another AI agent. And so this part is going to be pretty cool, so I'm excited to show you guys. Okay, so now we have another AI agent, and you've built the first one. Now we're going to go through the same steps for this second one, but this obviously has a different purpose. So similar to the beginning, we are going to build it first, and then after we execute it and see the output, we're going to explain what this AI agent is actually doing. And that'll just be way easier for us to understand. Now, we can do this. It doesn't matter what order you set up this agent, but so I'm just going to go ahead and set up the model that it connects to. So if you remember, it's going to go to Open Router, and it already has our account connected to, and I'm going to head over to ChatGPT-5. And then we also want to hook it up to the Think tool. So just going to do that as well. Great. So we have the Think tool hooked up, and then we have the AI agent hooked up to Open Router. Now we need to go into the actual AI agent node and make some of the changes that we did before. So here I'm just going to write generate prompt. And if you remember, we need a system message. But where can we get that system message? I'm glad you asked. All you have to do is head on over to the resources section. So I'm just going to copy and paste this prompt. Okay, once I have that copy and pasted, then I'm just going to add, oh, see, I messed up because I did not hit expression. So now I'm going to copy and paste it. Perfect. So we have this section filled out. We have the system message. The last thing we need to do is make sure we toggle require specific output format on. And once that is toggled on, then we can add the output parser. So I'm going to head over here, click structured output parser. And as always, I have that code for you. So all you need to do is remove the code that is in there and then head back over to the resources section and look for structured output parser. And I'm just going to copy and paste the code that's in here. Awesome. Now that you have this part for the structured output parser complete, all you need to do is head back to Canvas and let's actually execute or run this AI agent so that we can see what it's doing. And then we can walk through the purpose of it in the overall workflow. I'm going to hit run and then give this like 30 seconds or a minute or so. Awesome. That has finished running. So let's look at the output together. So what we have here looks like are 3 different video prompts. So what is this node or agent even doing, Timothy, you might ask? Let's take a look. In the previous step, we unbundled the ingredients so that we had 3 separate items, and each of those items contain different ingredients that make up a scene for an ASMR video. Now we need to actually take those ingredients and turn them into video prompts that we can feed into a video model like Veo 3 Fast, which is the one we're going to be using. So if you look at the before and after, the before, we have 5 ingredients that are completely separated out, and the AI agent has taken those 5 ingredients and turned them into actual prompts that we can use for the video models. And if you want to see how it does that, the prompt itself contains the elements that were generated in the previous step. And this prompt is basically saying, hey, can you take these ingredients and turn them into a prompt that I can actually use? If you're interested, I definitely would take the time to read through this to see how it was built and some specific details I added, but that is the general gist of how it works. Now, I'm just going to rename this to maybe master prompter. And after I have renamed it, I'm just going to pin it. So you can just do pin. So now that this only has to run once and we don't have to run it again. Now we have the actual prompts that we're going to feed into a video model, but how can we actually get those videos generated? Well, I'm glad you asked because that is exactly the next step. For this next step, we need to hit the plus icon and look for something called HTTP request. Once you have opened the HTTP request node, let's walk through it together. Because if you are new to N8N, this is going to be completely unfamiliar to you. So what we're trying to do is say, hey, we have these video prompts, but now we want to actually send them to a model so that those videos can get generated. To do that, we will be using this node, and let's walk through the different sections of it together. For method, you want to change this to post. And basically what post means is that we are essentially sending out a message to a server so that it can generate those videos. And then later on, we're going to be using what's called get to, you guessed it, get those videos. Now, for this URL section, you want to head over to the resource section and you want to copy and paste this URL here. And once you have pasted this URL, we're going to walk the rest of the setup of this node. And don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it all, what it's doing, what we're actually copy and pasting. But for now, just follow along. Okay, this next section is called authentication. And so this is actually connecting the node that we're using now to that other server. To do that, you want to hit this drop-down menu, hit generic credential type, and you want to hit header authentication. And once you see header auth, you want to hit this drop-down menu and you want to hit create new credential. Now, once you have create new credential up, you want to head back over to the resources section, or you can just type this in if you want, but we're going to be headed to fal.ai. I'm going to sign out of my account so that I can walk through it with y'all together. Okay, once you land on Fowl.ai, you should look, your screen should look something like this. Basically, Fowl.ai is a marketplace where you can have access to pretty much any creative model that you want. And you'll see how that works in a second. Please just create an account. And then once you create an account, then your screen should look something like this. Now, once you're at this screen, you're going to need to create an API key. And an API key is exactly what you created earlier, if you remember, for OpenRouter. So to do that, all you need to do is go to settings here and then hit API keys. And then you need to hit add key. I'm just going to do NAN ASMR demo and hit create key. Awesome. So now I have my key, and as always, never, ever, ever share your key. I'm going to delete this key after I'm done making this video for you guys. So I just want to make sure you remember, never share your key with anyone. Hit copy key. And then now we have the key. Also keep in mind, same thing with OpenRouter, but you will need to add your billing information here. And if you just add $5 or $10, then you should be good. Now, let's head back over to N8N. And this part is extremely important because if you don't get all of these fields correct, then the API and the connection will not work. So for this section for name, you want to type in authorization. And for this value piece, this is going to be very important. Click on expression, and then you're going to type this in. Key, capital K-E-Y, space, and then copy and paste your API key. Once you have done that, all you need to do is hit save. And I'm just going to call this ASMR Fowl API. Perfect. Now we have connected to the Fowl.ai API key for VO3 Fast. There's one last step for setup, so let's do that together. All you need to do is toggle send body on, and under body content type, under using fields below, just say using JSON, and you'll need to copy and paste some code here. And as always, you can find that in the resources section. So I am going to copy and paste this and bring that over here. Once you have copy and pasted this into this area here, you are good to go. I'm going to execute this step and see what happens. So once I execute this step, it's basically going to make a request to start generating those videos. Awesome. So it has made that request. So let's see what the output looks like. We have 3 different items. And so 1 item for each scene. That looks good. And now we can see that the status of those videos are in queue. And in queue just means that they are being generated. Because that process is not instantaneous, we'll need to wait a few minutes, but I'm going to walk you through the rest of the workflow and show you how that looks like. Now, for the next step, we need to set up the rest of the workflow. I'm just going to rename this really quickly so that we all know what this node is doing. I'm going to call this VO3 Video Generator. Awesome. So for this next step, you want to hit this plus icon and then type in sub workflow. And then you'll see this section here, which is execute sub workflow. And once you click it, then this will drop in. I'll show you what this is for in a second, but first we need to build it for it to make sense. For this section, just hit by ID. For this enter ID section, it is going to be completely unique to every person watching this video. So my ID is completely different from yours, but let me show you how to get it. If you click back to Canvas and you look at the URL of the N8N page you're on, it should look something like this. Now, to get your ID, all you need to do is copy and paste this value that is at the end here directly after workflow. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, head back to my N8N, And obviously you will not copy and paste this. You will find it in your URL. So make sure you have your own unique ID. And all you want to do is hit paste there. Now that you have set up this workflow node, let's do the next step. And don't worry, I'm going to explain what this specific section does in a second, but it'll make more sense like everything before this if we build it first and then we actually see the output of what it generates. Head over to the plus icon and search for that same workflow that we just looked at, and then hit this arrow key. And once you're at this arrow key, you want to find this section under triggers, and it says when executed by another workflow. And when you are here, just hit add field, and we're going to name this URL, and we're going to go back to our canvas. So now, once we have this node here, we will build out these specific steps. So the first step is to do this wait node, and you can go back to canvas, and I will explain this wait node in a second. And then next, hit this plus icon. Now we are going to do another HTTP request node. And before, if you remember, the method that we used was post. Now we're going to use get. And you guessed it, get is to actually get those videos that are being generated. To set up this get node, we have a couple of things that we need to do. First, I need you to head back to canvas and hit execute workflow. And when you hit execute workflow, it's not going to work. Actually, I need you to hit this execute step here for wait. Perfect. So now this is running, and I'll show you what we're going to do in a second. Now that that has finished running, I need you to open up the HTTP request node back up, head over back to resources, and in this node 6 here, which is where we are at, you are going to copy this URL and paste this into here. Now, this next part is important. You need to make a slash, and then you will click and drag this here. So yours should look like slash that you added here, and then you just click and dragged this onto the URL. So yours should read exactly like this. Now, next step. For authentication, we are going to do generic credential type. And because you have already set up the FAL API, you can just use the one that you set up. Okay, so generic auth type header, header auth, the FAL API key that you already created in the other HTTP request node. Now, this step is finished. I'm going to execute it and see what we get. Oh, okay. We got an error. I know why. So I'm going to go back here. Oh, we actually got an error. Ooh, okay. I think I know why. So I need you to save your workflow. So just hit the top right button there, and then I need you to hit refresh. Now, once you hit refresh, let's open this workflow back up. And perfect. So we needed to put in this specific input here, and this input doesn't populate until we have added it manually here, and then we've saved and refreshed. So now that this input is actually in the node, all you need to do is take this request ID here and drag it into this URL. Now, if you do not see this, input here, then all you need to do is make sure you have data pinned to this node. And then all you need to do is hit execute, and then this section will populate. And once you have this section, then you can just drag in request ID. We are going to test this workflow again, but before we do that, let's make a quick tweak. So let's run this wait node here. And after this wait node is done running, let's make sure that your URL for this section looks just like this. So you should have this URL that you pasted from the resource section. And then I want you to specifically take this when executed by another workflow URL. And then you are going to drag that into here. So yours should look just like this. It should have the URL, and then it should have this specific section here. Now, once you have that, then all you need to do is make sure you hit save so that all of those changes are actually locked in. Now we should be able to hit this call my workflow section, and then let's see what happens. Perfect. So that ran successfully. Now let's take a step back and see why we actually did that. If you remember, here we sent the request to generate the videos, but because that process is not instantaneous, we need to wait. And so this workflow calls this sub workflow here so that it can actually spend some time waiting before it makes the request to receive those videos. So under normal circumstances, for this wait section, usually I'd make it, about say like 5 minutes. And so here's what happens. The request to make the videos gets made here, and then it gets sent to activate this sub workflow, which is here. And this says, okay, once this sub workflow is actually activated, I want you to wait 5 minutes. And after waiting 5 minutes, I want you to check and find those videos. Does that make sense? So the whole point of it is because we have to wait to actually generate these videos, this sub workflow here exists so that it can actually pull those videos in after a few minutes of waiting after they have generated. Now that we have the videos completed, we're going to start putting them together. So if we look at the output here, we have the URLs to all of the videos that were created. So let's look at an example of one. All you need to do is copy this URL here and put it into your browser. And here is the video that was generated for me. Obviously, this is going to be completely different for you because all of it is randomly made. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. And if you think about it, we have done a majority of the work because we have actually, completed and generated all the videos. So now the last few steps are to actually combine the videos that were made so that we have a compilation. Let's do that together. All you need to do is hit this plus icon here and go to code node, and we are going to do code in JavaScript, and this screen should pop up for you. So like always, all you need to do is delete what is in this section, head over to the resources, and we are specifically in the node 8 batch URLs. So copy that code and paste it into here. And I am going to rename this batch URLs. Perfect. So let's walk through what this node is actually doing, and then it'll make sense once we have some of the final steps. But before I do that, I always want to pin the last step that I did so that things don't have to constantly rerun. So now let's execute this step. Okay, awesome. So that has finished executing, and let's take a look at what it did. So if we look at the output from the previous node, we have 3 items. But now, weirdly enough, we separated those items in the beginning to turn them into 3. Now we want to aggregate all of those URLs back together. Now, the reason for this is because we need those URLs to be together so that we can edit them into one compilation video. And this part is actually going to be pretty cool because I didn't know that you can automate the process, of editing videos and actually putting them together. So that's what I'm going to walk y'all through now. To start, let's hit this plus icon. Let's go to HTTP request. So we've been working with this node quite often, so you should be pretty familiar with it. Now we're going to be making a new post request. Change this to post and head on over to the resources section, and we're going to be grabbing a new link from Fal AI. I'm going to copy and paste this. And for the authentication, all we need to do is load in the one that we have been using. So header auth, and then Fal API. Now, you might be asking, okay, Timothy, what is this new tool that we're connecting to Fal.ai for? Well, I'm glad you asked. This tool is called FFmpeg, and it is a software that edits your videos through code. It's so cool. So to walk through how that actually works, we need to actually add that code in. So I need you to scroll down, go to... Now, I need you to scroll down and toggle on send body. And once you're a send body, click using JSON and head on over to the resources section and copy and paste this request body and paste it into here. Now, this is really cool. So basically what this is doing is that it's saying, hey, here are the URLs for our 3 videos, and these are the timestamps at which I want you to combine them at. So for a final product, we're going to have one video that is 24 seconds long, and it's going to be a compilation of the 3 ASMR videos that we made. This node has finished being set up, so as long as yours is exactly like this, you should be good to go. Now let's head back to Canvas, and as you guys remember, anytime we make a request out, that process is not automatic, so we have to wait. So let me execute step real quick, and let's see what the output looks like. It looks exactly the same as the output earlier whenever we sent a request to Veo3 Fast to start generating those videos. So this is good news. I'm going to pin this. Great. Now that this is pinned, now I'm just going to add a wait node. And let's just have this be maybe 1 minute. Okay, great. So if you remember, here after the Veo3 video generator call that we made to Fal.ai, we had to wait. So now we need to wait again. But before, we created a sub workflow to make that happen. But now I'm just going to put a wait node here to simplify things so that we don't have to use the sub workflow. And the reason I built it this way is because I wanted to show y'all multiple different ways that you can build the same thing, which is pretty cool. So I set up this wait node for 1 minute, and I'm going to execute it and then revisit with y'all once it's done running. That wait node has finished running. So let's look at the output. And here we have exactly what we were expecting. And so we are now going to start the final step. And so can you guys guess what that's going to be? If we made a post request here, then logically the final step will be we need a GET request. So to do that, we are going to head on over to resources and under node 10, which is receive edited video, just copy this URL, add it into here. And for the authentication, you already have that set up. And go to header auth. And you should be good to go. So let's hit execute step. Okay, so now we have that final output. I want to show it to you guys. Let's watch it together. Okay, so we have the avocado video that we watched earlier, and let's see some of the other scenes that we didn't watch. Nice. Okay, so that is the workflow, guys. So I just want to emphasize to y'all how cool this is. If you think about it, we have now completely automated the process for creating AI ASMR videos. And each one of those videos, like we were talking about earlier, even if we generate 1,000, each one is going to be completely different than the other. There are some cool things that you can do here if you want to add to this workflow. You can make sure that this link always gets uploaded to a Google Drive. You can change this trigger so that instead of manually having to run it and execute it, you can have it to where it schedules and runs by itself, maybe once a day or once a week, depending on how many videos you're trying to create. The possibilities for this are really endless. So if you think about it, we created an AI agent automation that creates varied ingredients for ASMR videos. It takes those ingredients and completely turns them into prompts that can be used for any video generation model. For us, we use Veo3 Fast. From there, after those videos are generated, and this is honestly one of my favorite parts, we're actually automating the process of editing those videos and putting them together through FFmpeg. And then our final step is to actually receive those videos, which is what we have here. How cool is that? And that is the end of this overview, y'all. I really hope that was helpful. And please let me know if you guys have any comments down below or any questions. And I'm pretty new to YouTube, and it would really mean a lot for me if you guys joined my community and just let me know what you're interested in seeing. All you need to do is just click on the link down below. And then as you know, all of my resources for this video are in this community. So you can just join it and then feel free to grab all of it for yourself. So thank you so much for watching, y'all.